This is the 12th session of Creative Dignity's CraftxClimate talks. This is a property, an initiative that we started a year back, as you already know. And this one in particular is extremely special because this is not virtual, it's virtual for you, but live for me, where all the action happens. And I am standing in Gurgaon in the studio of Jaggery Bags. And I am joined by Gautam Malik, the founder of Jaggery Bags, as well as Bhavna. And the interesting bit of why we chose Jaggery Bags is that, it's a unique brand that uses upcycled material. Now, what is this material exactly? A brand that was started in 2015 looked at offering circular solutions in terms of making bags from industrial waste that we hardly notice and we hardly speak about. These are discarded car seats, decommissioned canvas from the army, as well as something as peculiar as inflatable bouncy castles, right, Gautam? And Gautam today in his studio will take us through this value chain, the challenges, the scope for becoming a stakeholder, an economic player in the circular economy, and also having space for crafts to engage and add value to it. Indeed, there is an interesting TED talk that I was listening to Gautam last evening, where you speak about what happens to 12 million cars and car seats while they get discarded in 2025, right?
Right.
So it's an interesting era of discussion that we're going to have today, and I'll start with Thank you, Gautam. And I'll start with Gautam taking us through the value chain. So Gautam, tell us why Jaggery Bags in 2015? What provoked you and triggered your interest in looking at industrial waste firsthand?
Certainly. I'm a professionally trained architect, and along with Bhavna, who's the co-founder in the organization, we always wanted to create something that has an impact that's larger than itself, not a product in and of itself, but something that also contributes to environmental conservation and also is able to add to the dignity of the people that make it, right? So make the products. So this, for instance, here is something of a patent pending process of ours, which is essentially taking the car seat belts from the scrappage facilities all the way through the life cycle that the material has to kind of go through, right from disengaging and disassembling the product from its end of use in its first life to the design deconstruction process that happens with the design team, and eventually through the packaging that it follows to the person who's actually supported the product, using it throughout its life, and eventually when they're bored of it, what happens to the product? So we also come in at that level. So this is a 10-step process. It's called design out of waste, and it's based on circular economy principles of diverting waste from the landfills and resource efficiency. So if materials are non-biodegradable, they potentially have a lot of life left in them to be kind of given a new lease of life. And essentially this is what got us started. In 2015 we did a lot of R&D. Between 2015 and 2018 we had a lot of shows and outings where we tested the product and the idea from a product market fit perspective, and then 2018 we officially registered the organization. And since then we've been working largely with corporations and other social purpose organizations.
So what happens here? How do you go on identifying the waste? Do you go to the car dumping ground yourself?
Yes.
How did it start?
So that it started with yours truly and a few other passionate people quitting our corporate jobs and trying to identify areas where cars are scrapped in India. And thankfully for us it happened in Mayapuri. But we weren't able to find out about Mayapuri, directly, right? We had to go to a lot of closed doors and, take no as an answer from many people. And then eventually we realized that, hey, it's Mayapuri and this is a cluster where old cars are, scrapped, and materials are then already a part of a circular economy where metal is sold to other car makers, plastic is sold to plastic recyclers. But we found a gap where seat belts and the seat covers, the roof lining and the carpet was something that nobody was looking at. And we've always been very fascinated with materials that are ignored, right? So we then kind of took the seat belts and brought a small batch to our workshop, and we tried giving it a spin. We created some products which were then again promoted within our ecosystem with networks who knew what we were doing, right? That this is a circular economy based initiative, and thanks to the Paris Agreement in 2015, there was a lot of traction and conversations happening, but not too much, right? In the clusters that we knew of in architecture, in design, and a little bit in the film circles, we were able to find the people who were willing to support us from, positioning this as an upcoming kind of a venture from the global south that could lend itself to corporate gifting in the global north. For a discerning and already switched on audience. So here what's happening is that after the waste areas identified, we mobilize a search team. So I'm invariably a part of the search team, mostly made up of male members. We go to the scrappage facility, we take out the seat belts and the carpet and other material. We bring it back to our facility in Gurgaon here, where then we mobilize a lot at the bottom of the pyramid community members to help us with the cleaning process. We are able to clean the process. These are girls who would have otherwise become, maids or, house helps. So there's a sense of dignity that we are able to bring to their lives, that they are able to actually learn something new in an upcoming model and also contribute to a product being manufactured. Then, it's all sun-dried. The washing process is also very low resource intensive. We hardly use any harsh chemicals. It's scraped off, cleaning the dust off the bags,
right,
of the belts, and then it's sun dried. We let it, solar drying is a big, strategy of ours. Then, the artisans, after they're done inspecting the materials, then the design team takes over. We deconstruct, because it exists in 2-inch panels, is why all the products that we create have to be multiples of 2 inches. So there's a process that we've created where we quilt the bags along the vertical side.
Should we see the bags?
Yeah, let's have a look at some of the bags. So one of our most impactful pieces that we've created here, it's called the freelancer bag, where we have the panels made out of seat belts, like I was telling you earlier, the dots and the the little rivets that you see here. These are all found artifacts that we use as a design language, as a part of our design vocabulary. Then again, the conversation starter here is the buckle from an actual car. So this is being given a new lease of life, and we're using it on the front panel of our bag as opposed to using a new plastic buckle. We're using this, so this then becomes a differentiator for whoever's supporting us, and it's a simple 10-inch bag. That's can have multiple uses. Then we have a lot of other products here. This one's called the Day Tripper, and this one's been designed in such a way that, let's say, a brand supporting us, and they have normally 2 to 3 colors, right? And so we can, with our supply chain now sorted, we can source these seat belts in various colors. So let's say an Adobe wants to support us, and Adobe's colors are red, white, and black. So we're able to give them this part of the silhouette. This real estate belongs totally to Adobe, and we are able to customize it also with the logos being represented on the front of the product. So this is a Day Tripper. It's a backpack that is a 14-inch backpack, and it has a dedicated laptop sleeve, and it's made, the front panel is all car seat belts, the black is army canvas, the back straps are also seat belts. The insides are really interesting, because this is again an area where there's a lot of scope possible. So these are old scrap parachutes that we are able to get from our various suppliers, and it's a padded laptop sleeve for a 14-inch laptop.
So it's functional, it's stylish, quirky, and can keep enough in it.
Keep enough in it. You can literally carry your day's worth of goodies in it, and it's a dual impact product, right? That's able to divert waste from the landfills and also create dignified jobs for our makers.
Gautam was also the Circular Design Challenge finalist, right? Gautam, yeah. And this is, I think, the cargo bag that really caught my attention.
Yeah, yes, Surucchi, absolutely right. So this is a shell bag. It's a part of our yet to be launched collection where we are actually shifting the narrative on how bags are supposed to be structured. So what you see here is a shell-like structure as opposed to a completely concealed structure. And this is good enough a product that can, create eyeballs for whoever's carrying it, and also is, functional enough for you to carry various types of items. For instance, you could take a Jaggery laptop sleeve, put that in it, and along with your notebook, magazines, and it kind of makes for a really alternate cafe bag, right? So
Absolutely, and eye-catchy at that.
Yeah, eye-catchy, and it's also, something that you're not going to find anywhere else. So
someone is asking, Gautam, where does the name Jaggery come from? Yes, we haven't discussed that.
Oh yeah, so that's a wonderful question. So Jaggery actually comes from the ethos, the origin story of the food item. Jaggery is almost always made in with a zero waste output, right? So nothing that is used in the process of Jaggery is wasted. And so we wanted to borrow a little bit of that in the naming of our product as opposed to keeping it very technical, It was a toss-up between Jaggery and repurposed.
Oh.
And repurposed, we realized that there's an organization in the US that calls themselves Repurpose. And we went through a survey and, the internal stakeholders voted in favor of Jaggery because if you look at it also from a philosophical perspective, there's a brand that we all know, Apple. And Apple has nothing to do with electronics, right? And so we feel that Jaggery, because the origin story is organic, lends itself more naturally to an organic or eco-friendly, sustainable bags and accessories brand. So that's one of the links. The other is a small batch that we've already talked about.
Should we go towards seeing some of the craft-focused merchandise here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've laid it out for you.
Surucchi, we've since our inception, we've always thought of integrating different value chains that people don't necessarily associate coming together. So here, what you see is a simple silhouette. It's a handbag that on the front panel you see a kantha. The other materials are car seat belts, which make for the strap and the front differentiation. And the back side, you'll see army canvas. But on the inside, you'll see a little bit of more familiar territory, tabu. So, these kind of products, we think of these as, experimental real estates where we can actually showcase different types of crafts and materials coming together. So this again is a bestseller of ours. It's called a hustler bag. But here we've combined canvas, which we had acquired in very small quantities, with the two front pockets dedicated to the crafts. So here we see kantha again, and you'll see on this table we are only left with kantha and pattu for now.
Pattu we couldn't see, but
no, here's pattu.
Oh, wow.
I have found a pattu bag. So this is a simple pattu panel, and a pattu is a drape, ceremonial that the groom gets from the bride's family, and this is all made out of leftover yarn. In fact, we partnered with Rang Sutra to help us acquire this pattu. And this pattu, the more red, white and black variety also kind of evokes, design logic of Assam. The Assam shawls and the drapes. Because the geometric shapes are such that, somehow only people who know a lot about pattu and, weaving understand that this is something that's shared between the Assamese culture and the Rajasthani weaving strategies.
And we've got cane here as well.
Yeah, cane was a small batch that we tried out. Again, trying to combine cane with materials that people are not looking at very keenly in terms of bags and accessories. So this here is a bouncy castle that has been combined with it. It's a 5-layered PVC that's already used up a lot of resources in the creation of its first life. So after this bouncy castle gets a little bit of wear and tear, you can't plug the holes and you can't mend it in such a way that it can be inflated again for kids to bounce on. So this ends up with a cluster that we work with in Karol Bagh, and which is where we essentially, whenever there's a need, we can go and get a little bit of this in cut pieces. It's never something that is available. And the use for this bouncy is such that in slums in Delhi, it's used as shelter in the shanties, so they use it for rain protection and waterproofing.
Right.
That's the only other use that it has. Otherwise, it ends up in the incinerator. It goes to the landfill and it's burned off.
Someone is asking where one can buy the products and when will the unlaunched bag be available. I think that's the cargo bag, which is the
cargo bags are soon. We'll soon be making them live. I think in another. In the first week of Jan is when we are hoping the shell collection. So it's being photographed, and while we are making some get picked up, by visitors and all. So a normal collection is 10 pieces for us. So we are at the midway point. So I think in another 2 weeks we'll have everything up, and we'll put it up on Insta that the collection is live. You can buy it. And the other pieces, some of these are made in very small batches, so they're not always available. If people are interested in buying, these one-off kind of pieces that are available, just hit us up on Insta, and whatever's available, we'd be happy to share the catalog of the crafts pieces with you.
And everything else otherwise is normally available on your website, right?
Yeah, because we mapped out the supply chain in such a way that we have enough cargo belts, enough seat belts, enough car seat belt buckles. So, and the army campus is also mapped out. So. Salvage leather is something that we are phasing out because we are PETA approval pending, and they've categorically mentioned that you can't have anything to do with any leather. But we do have some salvage leather, so we are using that for now. This is a part of our denim collection. This is a product that my niece designed, and it's a little for Gen Alpha, if I'm getting it right. For kids that want to have just a mobile and a keychain in the bag and just wear it on their shoulders. I think I'm maybe overshadowing the profile and the perspective.
No, it's definitely very chic. And what about this bag? And tell us a little about your denim collection, because you've collaborated with Sahas Zero Waste, right? Which is a textile recovery facility.
No, Sahas is a much bigger company than just textiles. They're actually the leaders in waste management in India. So they've been working in the plastics value chain forever. They, in fact, Sahas and another organization from Bangalore have been at the forefronts of circular economy. And back then, when they started, circular economy wasn't even coined circular economy.
Right.
So Sahas Zero Waste and Jaggery partnered to launch with their Circle Up venture, which is a closed loop initiative by Sahas. They supply They add add to the supply layer, where we get consistent supply of good quality post-consumer denim, which has been collected by through their various collection drives in Gurgaon to keep a carbon footprint low. We then, use our best-selling silhouettes and convert the denim into products that can be then promoted. By Sahas and Jaggery on B2B and direct to consumer kind of channels.
But tell me, of course, what does scaling mean to you, Gautam, while, you are designing all these products, and we know that, you won't get the same fade of denim here.
Exactly.
Right? So what is your narrative there, and how are you talking to your consumers or buyers?
So ever since we've, been around, we've always promoted the idea that each bag needs to be unique, right? So a product that has varying degrees of fade on the front panel, or for that matter on any other panel, in fact really adds to the whole dynamics, right? So people feel that this product has been uniquely designed for them. And for across the different waste streams that we work with, we always use this, I don't want to say use it as a disclaimer, but as a kind of a differentiator that each piece will be unique. While we are photographing a piece of the same silhouette, the shades and tonalities may differ from the actual product that ends up with the person who's supporting us, right? So that is a uniqueness as opposed to something of a pitfall. So that's how we look at these material differences. And from a scaling perspective, Surucchi, there are various dynamics to it, right? So if you look at scaling when we started off, we were positioning ourselves as a product innovation studio. But as our journey unfolded, we realized that it's not just about the product, but in India, the edge over the world is our social capital, right? So we are now actually at the cusp of, becoming a social innovation lab as well. So we look at partnering with the organizations in India that are already working, using this as a mission critical mandate, right? For instance, the National Institute of Urban Affairs, right? Whose mandate is to create more urban livelihoods and create more, gentrified kind of populations, and in areas and in the, let's say the, districts where there's not a lot of work happening. How can we create more work? So for instance, in New, there's a pilot that we are running with them where, we are creating an upcycling center right next to a material recovery facility where auto scrapyards are designed. So there's a real estate that the government has allocated to auto scrappage facilities. So from there, attaching like a little upcycling center right there, and thinking of this as a pilot which can then be tried out in different parts of the country. So that's the social innovation. But on the product innovation piece, we, from a scaling perspective, we are a part of the social procurement network that SAP, CMS, Acumen, and a lot of other social innovation organizations have created. So just last year we had a kickoff, and now the terms and conditions are being formulated. So from a product innovation perspective, partnering with B2B organizations across the world is something that we think will really add a lot of value and bring more importance to ventures like Jaggery. There are thousands of such ventures across the country. But there's a sheer absence of any single platform that brings all these together. So through our social procurement, we'll be able to pay attention to product as well as the social dynamics and create products that are able to meet the supporters or our customers' expectations from a product merit perspective, as opposed to just a dual lens. Okay, I'm going to support Jaggery because they do environmental conservation and create jobs, but you should look at the product in and of itself, and on the merit of the product, be able to support us.
Tell us more about, how you've been able to crack this corporate gifting market, Gautam, because we were talking about it and you mentioned that LinkedIn or even Facebook really value the social plus the environmental side of capturing the credentials in a product like yours.
Yeah. Well, it's not been a easy journey, let me tell you that to begin with. It's been over a lot of presentations, a lot of digital meetings, a lot of phone calls, WhatsApp calls, explaining this to our supporters in various geographies, not just in India, that this is the value proposition of like a small SME coming from India working in this space. We've had, so for every success that we've had, let me say that we've had 20 rejections as well. It just so happens that the successes that we had were really high profile and we were able to get the eyeballs. So for instance, we ran a collaboration with Levi's in San Francisco through an intermediary. That's invariably how the model happens. It's never directly the decisions aren't made directly. It's always through somebody that introduces us to a large organization.
And you were also, it's quite interesting that in terms of, a lot of exports, which has been your market so far, certifications could be something that is an interesting but an uncracked angle for most businesses, right? 100%. And especially, in an unstructured upcycling economy where we are all trying to kind of get our brains around. So what is the certification that, one looks into and who's providing it?
So certification is a great area that thanks to the Textiles Ministry and the Textiles Committee in India, being kind of championed by really, cutting edge thought leaders. It comes from that, so it's a will of the leaders, right? Like the lay of the land is such that if the leaders don't want to support a circular initiative, nothing can happen, right? So thanks to the I don't want to take names, but a few people in the textiles committee and the textiles ministry, they've created a initiative where they respect and they acknowledge through an application and followed by an inspection, a process where you're able to certify makers in India who have dedicated themselves to this value chain. It could be particular aspect, could be textile recovery, it could be creating products out of that, or mobilizing some element of circular economy. They have a few mandates. If you meet the criteria, they're able to give you a certification, and it's only valid for a year. And it's a nicely monitored, closely monitored process. So it's not that you get a certificate 1 year and you sit on it and you kind of enjoy the laurels and all of that and don't work on the mandate that they've set out. There's a good chance that it won't get renewed the next year. So it's a very closely monitored process.
And will you be using it now for the exports? So will it hold value there?
For the exports, not as much, but the initiative is that government e-portal, where the government is also becoming, I don't want to use the word insular, but they are looking inwards, right? They want to support the crafts and the small makers community in India, and for their internal gifting from government to government, from one agency to the other, that could open up amazing revenue streams for small makers. So for now, they are looking at giving us subsidies in, let's say, participation in the 2025 Bharat Tax, where they've made a upcycling cluster, and they'll be allocating a wall of real estate to some of the certified makers. So
inroads into government projects.
More government related projects. That's their mandate. And from an exports lens, these kind of certifications will obviously help start conversations. But if you look at the export market, they're a bit more stringent about the upcycling. So they have the global recycling standard, and there are various other standards. So those standards haven't necessarily permeated the sustainability discussions in India.
In India, right. Yeah. Should we move towards the production area?
Yeah, let's please come there. So
this is the sampling unit. And production, which is, let's say, in bigger numbers, doesn't happen here. It happens in another unit in Hosrani, right?
Yes, that's correct. We have a hub and spoke model, and here, you'll find a small, cozy team working together. And the idea is to kind of enjoy the work, and bringing to life one piece is also like celebrating the material and what it has gone through in its first life. So who we have here is Mr. Shahid. He's like my younger brother, and if I'm the brains behind Jaggery, then he's the hands, right? And this is Divya, she's a new member. Shivani, kahan gayi? Shivani has taken off. And then on the other side, so you see the guys working on our collaboration with Saha Zero Waste with Circle Up.
Right. So this is all the denim produced.
These are all the denim products. So this is how, let's say the panel of one of our laptop bags comes about, and you can see that no two panels are alike. So, whoever receives the product is sure to receive a unique product. So eventually it ends up looking like this piece. So this is the one that's on the floor right now, and it's a small initiative right now. This is Ishtiaq Bhai. He's cutting the lining material for the products, and you can see some debris, the leftover cut-offs from the old denim that we've kind of deconstructed. This is a whole bunch of them, and this is also a part of a separate project that we are working on, where we use the buttons of the cut-off pieces, and we'll be using it as a installation element. So you'll soon see a wall installation coming up with just buttons.
And where would that be, Gautam?
We're going to be setting that up at a design university.
Okay.
Yeah, a huge wall at a design university.
And is all the design in-house? Are you designing it, or you have a team who takes care of it?
Deliberately keep our overheads very controlled. So we always have design interns who work with us. So the design direction comes from Bhavna and I. and then the designers help execute that. For instance, you were at the fashion show, Lakme
Right.
fashion show. The styles that you saw were initially conceived by me, but they were implemented by the designers, right? So,
I was looking at this nutrition facts list. So essentially a kind of ingredient list. And
Yes.
we also see Shahid's name here. So
Yep.
it's actually handcrafted by Shahid. So there is social equity, there is inclusion, credit giving.
yes.
And would you like to take us through it?
So yeah, absolutely. So this is a nutritional facts card that you see behind most FMCG goods, and the idea behind using this as a design strategy, as a cultural trope, was that this is familiar territory for people looking at the material makeup of anything that they're consuming, and the same should lend itself to design standardization, right? So it's not just Jaggery. We are pushing for this with the textiles ministry to be standardized across all products that the textiles value chain produces in India. So here what you see is materials that we've been working with, which include advertising banners, they include airlines cargo belts, architectural awning, car seat belts, this is defense grade canvas. Then we have kantha quilts, textile waste, recycled felt, which is another partnership of ours with the Good Felt. Then we have punctured bouncy castle, which we spoke about briefly. Then we have inner tubes like the rubber tire tubes that we use. We use these as trims. So wherever we use in whatever quantity of a material in a product, we tick mark that, checkbox that, so that people are able to understand that, hey, this is what it's a first step in this direction, right? And it hasn't necessarily been standardized, but this is something that we use as a storytelling mechanism, So there's a product merchandising in upcycling. If you look at globally, people don't really spend that much time, right? And so with social also, we are able to share stories of the makers with every product. So there's a little postcard that goes out that talks a little bit about Mr. Shahid's story, or Akhtar's story, or any other maker who's comfortable. So it's not always the case that makers are comfortable externalizing their stories. We've had many instances of makers saying, "No, sir, hamara story mat batayega," because they're not comfortable sharing that. So it's not that we want to do it and we go ahead and do it. We seek permission from the maker, and only then do we externalize their story.
Right. Indeed, it gets me to an academic, Peter Gotze, who's been advocating internationally for the ingredient list of a clothing in terms of percentage as well. So the consumer and the market kind of speaks that language, and there's more accountability.
Absolutely. I've totally looked that up.
Yeah. And so what's next, Gautam? What are other materials that you're looking now in terms of innovation?
Yeah, that's a great question, Surucchi. So we are now working with an organization called Reef Watch,
right,
to address the ghost net issue. And as ghost nets, people familiar with so many quintals of ghost net, the monofilament ones especially, entering the oceans of the world. That Reef Watch has actually been working in their silos forever, and they mobilize more impact through partnerships. And with this partnership, what we are doing is that we'll bring together design product innovation with somebody like like a Plogman of India, for people who are already working at the grassroots level, creating these waste collection drives, and with Jaggery bringing in the product innovation layer to create waste picking bags made out of old Reef Watch collected ocean plastic waste. So this is something that we are really excited about.
This is not recyclable, is it?
You can easily recycle it,
okay.
But the thing is then it becomes more resource intensive.
Right.
As opposed to upcycling. So downcycling, if you recycle, you're downcycling, right? So if you're upcycling, you're giving it a new lease of life based on,
extending the life of the material itself.
Yeah, extending the life of the materials and looking at it from the challenge that poses as a material. What can be recreated out of that? You can easily, recycle this, but then the carbon footprint of that product is much higher than the simple, upcycled waste collection bag. So this is one of the collaborations that we have in mind, and then we have another one where we're looking at old magazines, and magazines do add to a lot of waste that ends up in our landfills. And this is just a simple prototype where we use the quilting, the weaving technique to create a bag that can be used by magazine, designers and people who create, publications to use as internal gifting. So what if, the next edition of their magazine goes out in old magazine waste from whatever's been generated by them. So that's another area that we're looking at.
I just had the last question, and that is about the price. Just that our viewers would know a little bit more in terms of affordability.
So our products are, we would really urge people to look at all our products from the product merit lens first, and then, the dual impact aspect, because that is what the end consumer always looks at. I can get this product on Jaggery's site for, let's say, $2,400. Then there's a automatic comparison. Hey, I can buy this product or something similar on Amazon for $1,500. Why would I support you? So depending on the silhouette and the time that goes into making a product is how we arrive at, it's not perspective pricing, it's based on actuals, right? So the bill of materials is something that we look at closely, and we want to position this in such a way that it adds value in people's lives, right? They enjoy, we are able to spark some joy in their using our products. And when they see the different layers that the product offers to them, the fact that it's upcycled, the fact that we are able to externalize and share the materials with them, and the social impact stories, then it does invariably spark joy in them. And the fact is that our products are not the cheapest in upcycle. So I would say, based on the Indian competitive landscape, maybe 30% more expensive than the closest competitor. But then we also offer that much extra for them to become long-term patrons of our initiative.
Right. Thank you so much, Gautam, and thank you for the generosity of opening your studio and sharing your narrative, and as well as, I think, a very important input is how certification would work, especially mandated by the government.
100%.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining us.